everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Ask Jasmina Legal Video Series. I'm Jasmina Earthangel. I am a lawyer by trade, a healer, a writer, an intuitive and a spiritual based person. I decided to do this series because people kept asking me legal questions, and so I wanted to give back and help out all of the beautiful soulpreneurs out there that are starting soul-based businesses. So if you're interested in this series, please click the subscribe button and follow the playlist. Also, if you have questions of your own to ask me about anything legal or anything else, please subscribe to my mailing list. I send out energy readings every month. The next one is due mid-March. And you can ask me any legal questions, and then I will choose from the pool and answer your questions throughout the series. I will put the sign-up link to my website and my mailing list in the description box below. Today's question is a bit of a mix of a few questions I've already received. People are always asking me about patents and copyright and also designs. So the first kind of topic area I'm going to talk to you about today is just an overview of intellectual property, what each type of intellectual property is, or the main 5 types of intellectual property, and how you can protect those rights. The first type of intellectual property is copyright, and a subset of that is what's called moral rights. So copyright, I have a little cheat sheet on my computer here, so if I look this way, that's why. I'm just referring to the notes that I've already prepared. So copyright is the right to exploit your work through reproduction and or public dissemination without others being able to copy it. Copyright has the following classes: original creative works of varying descriptions, including artworks, published works, film and TV works, dramatic works, sound recordings, basically films or cinema, like old school films, television broadcasts, and what's called corresponding designs, that are designs that could be registered as a design under the Designs Act, which is a separate form of intellectual property, but can also be registered under will also fall under copyright, I should say, because with copyright you don't actually have to register anything. So copyright subsists for the whole of your life and then continues for between 50 to 70 years after you have passed away. So your estate can claim copyright rights over anything that you've created or produced. If it's a published edition of a work, it continues for 25 years after your death. And if it's a works for hire under the American jurisdiction, it can continue for up to 120 years after you have passed. And for unpublished works, it's indefinite because it's not a published work, so you don't need protection from anybody stealing it. There are exceptions to copyright under what's called fair dealing and fair use provisions. Now, these provisions are quite technical, so I don't have the time today to go into a complete explanation for every type of fair use or fair dealing situation. If you have a question about copyright and when people might be able to use your works, send me a specific question and I can answer it in another episode. One thing to be aware of: if anybody is going to reproduce your works under fair use or fair dealing, they're only allowed to reproduce 10%. Say it's for education purposes or for critique or for parody. Those are some of the reasons that people can reproduce. They're only allowed to reproduce 10%. Some of the remedies you can have for infringements of copyright is an injunction, which stops somebody from continuing to use your copyrighted works. And if they've caused you loss, say financial loss for example, you can get money back in way of damages or compensation or loss of profits. You don't have to register it, as I said, and it automatically applies the minute you create something and put it into the public domain. The subset of that is moral rights, which applies to the same things, but moral rights is the right to be recognized as the author or creator of anything you create, the right not to have your work falsely attributed to another author, and the right not to have your work subjected to derogatory treatment. It applies over the same areas or classes as copyright. And it lasts until the copyright in the work ceases. So it lines up with your copyright provisions. Exceptions under moral rights is you can give someone consent to use your, or to have use of something that you have moral rights in. A reasonable act or omission, so something if somebody innocently does something not realizing. A special exemption, or fair use, the same as copyright. Again, you don't have to register for it, and you don't have to pay anybody to have moral rights. The third type is design. Design protects the visual appearance of your product and the right to commercially use, license, or sell the design. Now, with design, it has to be a new and distinctive design. It can't have been published anywhere else in the world or publicly used in Australia before you apply to register it. You can request a publication registration instead of a design registration if you're not sure your design would succeed under the rules. And the publication registration means that no one else is able to register a design for the same thing. So you don't get what's called a positive right to enforce anything against your design, but no one else can register something and use it against you, if that makes sense. So there are 32 classes of design. Again, I don't have time to go into every type of design, but some examples are, jewelry, travel things, graphic symbols and logos, patterns, ornamentation, the design of a chair, table, any type of thing that you can design, essentially. 32 classes. Again, if you have a specific question, please ask me and I will drill down and answer your specific question in another episode. Your design duration lasts for 5 to 10 years if you register it. And it has to be renewed after the initial 5-year term. An exception to a design registration are certain repairs. So if you have to get something repaired and they're going to repair something that you have, say it's this, the etching came off, for example, they have to repair it, they're allowed to do it, they're allowed to reproduce your design to repair it. Similar to your copyright and your moral rights, you can get an injunction against somebody using your design, and you can get compensation/damages on account of profits or for money that you've lost. At the moment, it's $250 per design application in Australia, and that can take up to 3 months to register. The next type of protection you can get is what's called a trademark. A trademark protects the sign you use to distinguish your goods or services from those provided by other people. They can be registered in respect of goods, services, or both goods and services. Now, when you actually get a trademark registered, you have to use it or it can be removed for non-use. There are 34 classes of goods under trademarks and 11 classes of services. So quite an extensive list. Again, it's similar to design. You can have a trademark over, again, jewelry, your logo, anything that's printed out, clothing, a pattern, things like that. Now, it lasts 10 to 20 years you have your trademark for. And to maintain active registration, you have to renew it. If it's in America, you have to put a declaration of use between the 5th and 6th year of the trademark following the initial registration. In Australia, you have to renew it. It's either 12 months prior to expiry to 6 months after expiry of the initial term. You can renew it in Australia. Exceptions to trademark protection are use of trademarks in good faith, comparative advertising, and if the person could get the trademark in their own name if they were to apply for it. Again, a technical area of law. If you have a question about that aspect, please let me know specifically your question and I can answer it in another episode. Trademarks are the same. You can get an injunction, damages are on account of profits, so money, or with trademarks you can also get a destruction or a forfeiture order for the person to give up whatever they're using that infringes your trademark protection. They give it back to you, or give it up, or destroy it. In Australia, to register a trademark, it's $200 per class of trademark, and in America, it's $225 per class of trademark. So the final main type of intellectual property right you can have is a patent, and a patent protects the right to exploit or use commercially an invention which is defined as any new and useful process, machine, manufacture, composition of matter, or any new and useful improvement of any of those things. In Australia, there's 3 classes of trademark. They are the standard, the innovation, and the pharmaceutical class. In America, they're called the utility, the design, and the plant. So in America, if you have a design to register, it's different to Australia. You have to register a patent design. In Australia, you can just register a design. So there's only 3 classes in each of those jurisdictions. Now, the duration of a patent. A standard patent in Australia you have for up to 20 years. An innovation is up to 8 years. And a pharmaceutical patent is up to 25 years. In America, you have up to 20 years on a utility patent, 14 years on a design patent, and 25 years on a plant patent. Now, exceptions in respect of patents are prior use, acts for obtaining regulatory approval of pharmaceuticals, acts for obtaining regulatory approval for non-pharmaceuticals. So any acts for regulatory approval is an exception, and if you're doing anything for experimental purposes, you're not going to infringe a patent. Same infringement remedies, injunction, damages, so money or on account of profits. Alright, cost to register. In Australia at the moment, it is $370 for a standard patent and $180 for an innovation patent just to register, and then there are renewal fees. In America, you've got a $280 basic filing fee for a patent and a $460 examination fee in respect of a design patent, for example. So that's a little bit of rundown on the 5 main types of intellectual property. I hope you like this video. Please leave any comments you have below. If you have any specific questions, please subscribe to my mailing list and send it through to me to make sure I get it, because I don't always get notifications about the comments on here. Hope you like this video, and I'll talk to you all next time. And it can take up